Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Shiji Buzz. Today, we discuss how to build the ultimate tech stack. As hotels adopt more technology, the tech stack is growing into kind of an unmanageable beast. This is creating challenges with integration, systems management, and data security. Technology is meant to streamline hotel operations and improve the guest experience, not make things more difficult. Is the utopian vision of a fully integrated cloud-based tech stack slipping away? Well, with us today to find answers to this question and more, we have three people with a lot of experience in hotel technology. A warm welcome to Howard Fung, Director of Digital Data and Technology at Pro Invest Group. Howard, welcome.
Yeah.
Terence Ronson, Founder and Managing Director at PertLink. Terence.
Hi, Daniel. Thanks very much for inviting me, and to Shiji for putting on this event.
And Nikki Singh, Senior Vice President, APAC and Middle East with Shiji.
Thank you, Danielle. Thanks for hosting this for us, and thanks for everyone for joining as well.
Great to have all of you here today. I'm Daniel Craig. I'm the founder of Renown, and it's my pleasure to moderate today's panel on behalf of Shiji. We'll have a live Q&A session at the end of this webinar, so feel free to send in your questions at any time, and all attendees will receive an email link to this recording within the next few days. So now let's jump into our topic. And Howard, I wanted to start with you. Pro Invest Group owns and operates over 30 hotels across Australia and New Zealand under diverse brands. What does the ultimate tech stack look like for you?
Daniel, that's a great question. I guess the very first step in choosing a tech stack for a hotel business is really to understand the business strategy behind it, what problems you're trying to solve. This will help define the criteria for the tech stack, such as does the integration need to be interoperable, what are the requirements of this integration, the adaptability, the scalability of the system, and the different customer journeys that needs to be supported. After having a clear vision of these aspects, the next step is really to design the tech stack to be the best available tech stack, most importantly, right? In my opinion, there are 5 core technologies in the modern customer first tech stack. The very first one is the enterprise middleware. It acts as a central nerve system for the tech stack, ensuring seamless integration and data flows across entire systems. The second technology is the customer platform. This is to ensure you recognize your return guests, and really provide that quality of data. The third tech stack is the distribution technology. This plays a part of various technologies, the website, the CRS elements. This is the very critical technology to ensure you convert the customers at first go. And then the fourth technology is the property management system. Right? This is to manage the robust operations from check-in, check-out, and inventory and housekeeping, so on. A lot of modern property management systems nowadays already includes a lot of self-service capabilities and all-in-one, depending on the bespoke nature of the business. And the last technology I would say that's really core is your customer experience platforms. This is the platform that brings it all together end-to-end, whether it's a web check-in, service operation optimization technologies, kiosks, and so on. This really brings in that customer service, it brings it home and converts the customer to loyal customers.
Okay, thanks, Howard. Terence, I wanted to ask you, as a former hotelier yourself, and I know you've been consulting for hotels in IT for over 20 years. In your opinion, are we evolving toward an integrated platform model back to a hub and spoke model, or to something different?
Thanks, Daniel. Great question. I think it's there's 2 parts to this. One is that I think the industry would love a one-size-fits-all solution, something you can simply plug in, pay a monthly fee, and it gives you all the bells and whistles, features, functionalities that you're looking for. But I think in reality, we're going to be continuing with, certainly for some time, an integrated, an interfaced hybrid solution. I don't think I think it's too much at this moment in time for one organization to be a master and specialist of everything. I know, and to be able to give the hotel operator exactly what they're looking for. There's too many best of breed systems out there and who are interfaced to the PMS. And I think that's what we're going to be faced with for quite some time going forwards.
And just getting back to you, Howard, even for a hotel group, the tech stack can vary by hotel. Like for someone with you, you're working with various brands. You've got different tech stacks for each hotel. Is that correct?
Correct. So it really depends on the business model. Pro-Invest operate quite a few different models, white label investment management. So I think it's important to understand the balance. So the one model that we have is high scalable, simplistic model. So we look for a tech stack that's simplified. The other model is that we partner with big distribution franchise platforms, big hotel groups. So our focus is to focus on platforms that offer that rigid standardization that the global. Then we offer another platform where it's distribution and HMA centric. So we're just looking to push distribution down. So we're focused on tech stacks that highly interoperable with various PMSs, because when we're trying to sign more HMAs, for example, we need to be pretty agnostic to their needs. So there's a very vast models that you can adopt.
And at this time, you mentioned to me that you're trying to make things simpler rather than more complex and reduce the number of PMSs you're using, et cetera.
Right. So currently we operate over 9 PMS across the group, and that's added a lot of complexity. We've designed bespoke systems, but this trade-off there is it's not highly scalable. So what we're looking to do is scale it down to free, or reduce it down to free PMSs, so we can offer that very bespoke personalized experience, and we can scale it very quickly, most importantly. So part of that journey is really to shift to cloud, so we can offer that very autonomous automation when we go for that next level of growth.
So from 9 PMSs to 3 sounds like a worthy goal. Nikki, you've held leadership positions with Shiji for almost 8 years, and before that, you were with Oracle and Microsoft Fidelio. So you've got a lot of tech experience. What new trends are you seeing in the evolution of the modern tech stack?
Thanks, Danielle. So yes, I think I will probably agree with what Howard and Terence have said so far. So we're definitely seeing a greater push towards, I guess, more integrated and interconnected models. And that's really, I think, driven by the industry's efforts to ultimately improve guest experiences, enhance operational efficiency, also staying competitive in an ever-evolving technology landscape, and ultimately also improving the bottom line. So probably providing an ROI back to the owners, if that's the model that they operate in, right? And so as Howard just mentioned, he spoke about cloud. So this transformation that we're noticing in the industry we've been seeing this for a while now, and it's heavily supported by adoption of cloud. And the adoption of cloud essentially really assists hoteliers with innovation. So something that was only possible over 12 to 18-month period, cloud technologies can now achieve that in a couple of months or even lesser. Together with wanting cloud native applications and moving to the cloud, we're also seeing a great demand from our customers to provide very well designed and comprehensive APIs. And so what this essentially does is it allows hoteliers to choose best of breed applications, just as Terence mentioned, that seamlessly communicate with each other and create a more flexible and adaptable technology stack so that the hotelier is actually providing that value back to the customer and their owners alike. We're also seeing AI starting to get a seat on the table. We'll talk about this in a little bit more detail, but I really want to focus on all of this transformation. What is it really driving? And at the core of it all is the main objective is improving the guest experience. So there's a huge focus in the industry on streamlining the overall guest experience and personalization, and in some cases, hyper-personalization. So it depends on the model you operate in. And so this really drives the integration of best of breed, but also providing better unified experiences, whether it is from the point of booking or to the point of checkout. Then what we notice obviously is this adoption of digital devices, and mobile devices, which is also pushing hoteliers to provide more comprehensive digital touch points. And in some cases, for some chains, the guest engagement has seen a significant jump via the digital channel. We're talking double-digit jumps, on year on year. So this is where the technology and advancements happening and integrated models essentially allow hoteliers to adapt very quickly to the growing needs of a tech-savvy traveler. I will be amiss if I don't mention data and a huge interest in consolidating data, but then from there, essentially transforming the data and using perhaps predictive AI to provide better insights, ultimately to sort of increase your bottom line. So we are seeing that the technology is continuing to advance. These trends are going to be evolving continually to ultimately really improve guest experience and brand loyalty.
So you sound very optimistic. So from your experience over these many years, you've seen a lot of progress.
Yes, absolutely, a lot. We've moved from sort of premise-based models into cloud computing. We're seeing now chains sort of adopting a very aggressive approach on multi-cloud solutions. So absolutely, there's been a huge shift in terms of appetite for technology.
I want to talk a little bit more about the shift to the cloud, but first, you mentioned the importance of data. And Howard, as a representative of a global hotel company, I mean, one of the biggest obstacles is privacy and security laws. How can a global hotel company share a secure and centralized guest database when these laws differ by country?
Yeah, I guess a very relevant topic, given how significant cyber breaches are nowadays. The first factor I would really put in is down to the technology limitations. If you're operating on a legacy tech stack, privacy control is going to be incredibly hard. So I think the first step is really to adopt a technology that is privacy by design. From a law perspective, most global hotel groups apply the highest, strictest privacy laws first, and then apply that down to the wider group. So I think that's certainly the approach I've been seeing, and we've been applying our privacy controls based on the strongest controls. So at this current, I think from observation, GDPR is the highest, and we see that in the US also there's certain laws that tend to be a lot more stricter than GDPR in some respects. So I think it's important to have a look at the laws, apply the strongest. But it may not work for certain jurisdictions. If you operate in China, for example, there are certain laws that's quite unique. So I think the most important obstacle to break and to resolve is the technology stack. I think it's important to have a privacy by design. It needs to be built in. And that logic needs to be cleansed. So every time there's a data entry from your PMS to your distribution platform, you need to have privacy by design where the data gets cleansed, opted in, and meets the criteria to transfer from a distributed database to a centralized database. So generally speaking, the way around all of this, we've seen the global groups adopt a loyalty program. So that's very specific. As it's explicit opt-in, you're signing for a loyalty program. There is no privacy disputes there. You know what you're getting, and you know what benefits you're getting. So that's tend to the the go-to nowadays. And I think, but the downside of trade-offs here is sharing that data is incredibly hard. It's centralized, so you tend to have to take a approach. But if you modernize your tech stack, I think we'll get there eventually. Has to be single platform, enterprise platform that is constantly validating the privacy controls.
So a loyalty program actually has a lot of personal data about guests. The reason this isn't an issue is because guests have to sign off, have to agree to certain conditions in order to become a loyalty member?
That's correct. So the sign-on process to registering a loyalty program is very explicit. It's a very unique registration path, so that those tend to apply a very unique privacy policy. So you tend to tick a lot of boxes. So you can kind of cater that for different regions of the world. So it's quite bespoke and it's very bespoke and custom built for respective regions. So we tend to see a loyalty program as the one-stop shop. These controls you won't see in for example, a PMS. There's issues around a lot of legacy PMS still operate on paper-based reg cards, which is technically impossible to really capture that explicit opt-in, which is one of the key areas that gets a lot of groups in trouble, is marketing, unauthorized marketing, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Terence, I want to talk a little bit more about legacy technology. Earlier, you mentioned that ultimately we'd have one system that was fully integrated. But wouldn't that bring us back to the old days of just a few legacy providers that got us into this mess in the first place? What are your thoughts in terms of how legacy technology providers might be holding hotels back from achieving the ultimate tech stack?
Well, I think they were legacy providers because they were the innovators. They were the ones who brought the PMS to the market in the first place. I can go back to a time of working in hotels where we didn't have paper-based, where we didn't have PMS, everything was purely paper-based, using something called a Whitney rack system. And there may be one or two people on this call who know what a Whitney rack system means. And it came about, and then it grew to having all these systems of interface to it, such as telephone, call management, etc., minibars, blah, blah, blah. Now, I think the hotelier would like to move to a state-of-the-art system because everybody likes to use the latest technology. Like, we change our phones, we change our computers, we upgrade our operating systems and our apps on a constant basis. The issue is that there is something I refer to called the FUD factor: fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And that is based on a few things. One is the fact promises are made by vendors. Will they actually be delivered? And will we realize the dream? Will it, as Howard and Nikki have said, will it enhance the customer experience? Will it sort out the data privacy issues? And I think something that's very important today is, will the employee who is going to use this system, will they find it easy to adapt to? And there is a huge labor problem, as we know, within the industry, and that's not going away in the short term. So I think whilst we would like to move to these integrated systems, the legacy systems are still something that people are used to. They know it works. And the phrase is, if it ain't broke, don't change it. And there's also the cost implication of moving from one system to another. And the costs are not just the financial cost, but there's the operational cost, the cost of the guest, et cetera. So to summarize, if the value proposition in moving from legacy to state-of-the-art is a good one, it can be proven, not on paper, but in reality, maybe through a POC, then yes, they should make that move, definitely.
I think any of us who are former hoteliers or current hoteliers understand what you mean when it comes to the switching PMS is becoming a bit of a deterrent, because it can really be challenging on hotel operations. Nikki, there's a lot of talk these days about rather than the PMS, like a hospitality platform. So is the PMS still the center of the tech stack, or is this changing?
Daniel, great question. I think, like I mentioned, the industry's increased focus on guest experiences has essentially led to a change in behavior, perhaps, of what a PMS looks like. This, coupled with the fact that, as perhaps Terence alluded, there is no unified platform that provides everything in the one place, in one platform, essentially means that the PMS, the role of the PMS changes. However, that does not diminish the value of the PMS. It is one product that is closest to the guest journey, that is closest to the transaction of the guest journey. So it still remains a very, very critical component of the overall tech stack, very central component, in my opinion, still, because of all of the integrations, the interfaces, and everything that's needed to actually consume the data that's sitting in the PMS related to the guest. I feel that the role of the PMS is changing until a provider can perhaps come up with perhaps a more unified platform, not just a PMS, not just something for meeting and events, but beyond that, maybe perhaps a more centralized customer experience platform. Until that happens, I feel the PMS still remains quite a critical core of the tech stack.
Okay. A related question you mentioned earlier about the shift to the cloud and cloud technology and how that's really helping to speed technology up. Is it inevitable that, do you think that everything's going to shift to the cloud, or do you think there will always be a hybrid tech stack?
For the time being, Danielle, I would say that there will be a hybrid tech stack. Ultimately, in the future, yes, I probably foresee that it would, majority of the applications will be in the cloud. But given the multitude of applications and solutions that are required to run and operate a hotel, at the moment, it's quite impossible to consider a complete cloud approach. We're seeing that a lot of hoteliers are moving some of these old legacy solutions into a hosted model, but a true cloud solution across all of these applications, I think that remains to be sometime in the future.
Okay. Interesting. So getting back to you, Terence, we've all mentioned the importance of the guest experience, as technology providers always talk about the importance of it, guest experience. And of course, hoteliers understand that firsthand. So my question for you, because I know you that's one of the things you think is more important when it comes to hospitality technology. How does the ideal tech stack improve the guest experience?
Well, I love the question. And I would like the opportunity to comment back perhaps a bit later on what Nikki was saying just now about the PMS being central to the operation of the hotel. But in answer to your question, the tech stack, whatever it is, and Howard's mentioned that he has multiple variations of the same thing based upon different brands across his portfolio of hotels. And I'm sure when you talk about all the brands, they all have a similar situation. And to be honest with you, I think there's one key message that we have to bear in mind. It has to work. It must work. And that's a phrase that Steve Jobs used to talk about from Apple when he talked about the Apple ecosystem. It just works. And I think as far as the guest is concerned, they don't care what PMS you use. They don't care what brand of Wi-Fi. They don't care about what optimization system you have for revenue and channel manage. They don't care about the 30 different systems that you're putting in the hotel. They just want to have a positive, memorable guest experience. And so that and as Nikki alluded to on the guest journey, which is a very, very relevant part of this whole thing, is that whatever tech stack we choose, however we interface it, however we integrate it into the hotel, it must ultimately give that positive, memorable guest experience. And to me, if we can achieve that, then we have an ROI. That's really what it is, because at the end of the day, It's the guest who's paying for this. And the guest who is happy will be your best sales force. They will go out, they will post about it on social media, they will be your best sales team ever. But if you put in a tech stack and you spend millions of dollars on all this wonderful stuff, and the guest has to wait 20 minutes or 30 minutes to check out because everybody's busy and there's a problem here or there's a problem there, then you failed. Then you haven't really worked it through. So it really has to achieve that positive, memorable guest experience, which I keep repeating myself, and I apologize. I really shouldn't apologize for, because that's really our ultimate objective in providing hospitality, is that. And that to me is the ideal tech stack and what we should be looking for as an achievable objective.
It's interesting because we're all travelers in addition to working in hospitality. And so we get to experience things firsthand from the guest perspective. And I don't know about the rest of you, but I know it's my guest experience has been all over the map in recent stays. It's been everything from, much like you said, having to wait to check in and make me wonder, this is not much different from 30 years ago. Then I've checked in online or with my phone before, but then had to wait at check-in again. So that kind of defeated the purpose for me. It kind of doubled the time for me. And then I've had experiences where it's been amazing and seamless and quick. I get handed my key as I arrive. Before I go to my next question, Howard, I'm wondering if you can weigh in on the guest experience being, the hotelier, current hotelier here. Is all this technology making the guest experience better?
It's kind of a double-edged sword when it comes to guest experience. I think it's about finding the right balance, the market segmentation that you play. It's really important to kind of cater the technology for your market. For example, ProInvest has a very luxury lifestyle hotel. They expect high expectation around seamless integration to their room type, their stay, their favorite breakfast, their favorite wine, and technology enables that personalization capability. And most importantly, we can upsell the guests through the use of AI upsell. Then we have the low touch express style businesses where a guest just wants a room and breakfast. So you tend to don't want to throw a lot of emails at them. They just want to book the room, get in, get out. So it's finding that right balance. I think it's really, really critical to achieving your guest satisfaction scores.
Maybe we're just in that awkward transition phase where we've got all this new technology. We just haven't quite fully integrated it to the guest experience. But ultimately, if we all achieve where we think we're heading, it's going to be pretty amazing and should transform the guest experience. Howard, I wanted to also ask you, one of the challenges hotels are facing with all of this sort of fragmented tech stack is dealing with so many different providers. So in your experience, how can hotels get vendors working together to make things more seamless at the back end?
The first step, I would say, is it's all about having a clear communication of goals and expectations for your entire vendor and tech stack ecosystem. And I've personally introduced a vendor collaboration agreement between them, so clear KPIs and what they need to deliver, and also incentivizing the collaboration in that regard. So that what that means is more hotels. So if you complete this POC, if you integrate this type of system, you will activate a group agreement, for example, and we'll authorize you to deploy across the group. So these types of approach. And I think the most important thing is it's about also validating the vendor's track record and the solution. From experience, I've done a lot of reference checks and everything checks out. And then when it comes to integration day, the API that they state is open, it's not really open, and we have to spend a lot of money just to integrate with our system. So it's important to really focus on the ease of integration and potentially invest in a proof of concept so you don't get burnt firsthand. And another thing I must say is technology, they come and go. So it's important to invest in technology that's there for the long term. So, for example, there was a period where I invested in the company I worked with, invested 7 figures onto a guest platform, and across a year, the founder left the company, and they tend to they just dropped the ball after that. No roadmap, no progress. So I think it's important to really focus on that longevity element of the vendor relationship and the platform. Otherwise, I think you'll get burnt, and it's very hard to pivot out and migrate out when you've invested so heavily integrating platforms. So I think if you focus on those key areas, you'll be put in a good place.
No doubt. Nikki, as a vendor, how would you respond to that question? From a vendor's perspective, what do you think are key considerations in choosing tech vendors?
So I think a lot of the things what Howard has said, completely agree with, right? You need to essentially choose a vendor that is that has a cloud native approach, that has secure solutions, scalable solutions, that is able to, depending on the size of your operation, if you're a global chain or a regional chain, a vendor that can scale with you, that has a geographic presence, which is not confined just to the one geolocation, has enough investment backing. That will allow them to grow. It's a very competitive landscape for vendors today, be it in the PMS world, point of sale world, wherever we are. It's in a competitive landscape. You need to make sure that your vendor is able to sustain and grow with you. But I think that the thing that's most important to me, and I believe sometimes gets diluted, is the serviceability of the vendor. We are in the industry to provide service, which is exactly what hoteliers are doing, to provide service back to the guest. Is your vendor providing that service back to you? Is service culture in their DNA? That is a very, very critical component, else you'll end up with a buyer's regret eventually. So I think everything has to be seen in a balance, not just product, not just feature functionality, not just cloud native scalability, but really what is the value system of the vendor.
Yeah, it's interesting dealing with vendors myself. Often as a hotelier, I wonder when they don't have the same service culture that the hotel industry does in terms of responsiveness and pleasant, all these qualities that are built into us in the hotel industry. And I think it's a great point. I think it's something vendors really need to understand, because that's kind of the level and the expectation that hotels have of the companies that they work with. Thank you, Nikki. We're going to go to the Q&A. Any of our listeners, if you have any questions for our panelists, now would be the time to send them in. And I do have a question here related to artificial intelligence, because of course that's what everybody's talking about today. And maybe we'll start with you, Terence, if you want to take this. And then I'll go to the others. But what opportunities do you see for artificial intelligence to improve the hotel tech stack?
Fantastic question, and a really lovely subject. I used to use the phrase that you can't spell hospitality without IT. Now you can't spell hospitality without AI. And it seems that every vendor out there somehow is adding AI to their solution, saying it's AI backed, it's AI driven, it's whatever it is, it's got AI involved in it. And I really would love to understand more about what they mean by that. It's interesting because I do on a daily basis interact with ChatGPT. I love it. I use it a lot. It's replaced my search engines, and it's always up there on my screen in front of me. And I'm always asking it questions, having it rewrite my letters, my emails, and all this kind of stuff, and sort out my grammar issues. And I did the other day knowing about this event today, question it. I questioned ChatGPT and I said, do you think that an AI can replace the PMS, a hotel PMS? And of course, you think, what does an AI know about hotel PMS? And it came back with some very, very interesting responses to me. And I was having a dialogue with it over a period of a couple of hours. I felt like I was talking to somebody in the same room as myself, a bit scary, actually. Trying to really get it to give a definitive answer, if it was possible, and when could it take place? What would be the time frame for this? And it came up with a huge list of obstacles why an AI could not replace a PMS, such as the volume of interfaces. It wasn't sophisticated enough to handle the volume of transactions that a PMS currently goes through, data privacy issues, et cetera, et cetera. So I said, okay, when do you think an AI could evolve to the level of being able to replace a PMS? Give me that vision. And it came back saying about 20 years it could do this. And I sort of think to myself, well, maybe I won't be around in 20 years to see that, and it would be an interesting time to see whether it does it. But I kind of think that's an unrealistic time frame, and I think it's more likely within the next 5 to 10 years, knowing how fast these things are advancing and what they're taking over. So I love the idea of AI if it's used properly. Of course, there's a lot of privacy issues and governance and, Big Brother and all that kind of stuff around it. But it's here. It's not going away. It is going to help the industry, especially with regards to the lack of labor, because the labor issues and the fact that it can handle a lot of stuff. And I think Howard's probably using several AI-based systems out there in his portfolio, or purported, to be backed by AI. And I'm sure Nikki and Shiji are looking at, already have many of these things. It's here. It's not going away. And I think the industry has to grasp it. And maybe we also need to have some oversight from the industry about how AI could be implemented into hospitality.
20 years sounds like ChatGPT is being very modest. And I'm always very suspicious and skeptical. And I wonder sometimes if programmed into ChatGPT is responses like this, because a lot of people are asking ChatGPT, are you going to take over the world and enslave people? And scaring, they have the potential to scare a lot of people. So maybe they're trying not to scare hoteliers and hotel tech providers that they're going to be out of a job. What will be interesting to me is the first company, ChatGPT now has an app store. And who's going to be the first company to put on that app store an application to check guests in? That'll, of course, have to be interfaced with the PMS, etc. So interesting times. I'd say more like 1 or 2 years than 20, but what do I know? Howard, I would like you to weigh in on this. What's your take on AI?
Yeah, very relevant subject. I think if you take a step back and you look at what's happened in history, AI has been around for a long time, and we've been using AI for many years in our systems, by design. But what's interesting is generative AI, the amount of billions that is going into this platform. So ChatGPT, they had a $10 billion investment from Microsoft. They've actually embedded into their own product platform called Copilot, which we use today across the group. And it's interesting how open the architecture is. It's they're not afraid to let anyone plug in and have a play. So we've done a lot of pilots to see how it operates in our business. It's still in the very early stages around accuracy. So there's a risk management approach. I think everyone needs to take, be very cautious around. It can leak your IP and your customer data. There has been vulnerabilities we've seen across the months since it's deployed. So you got to be very cautious. But then you take a step back and you look at what can I do at a low risk proof of concept. I think one of the areas that we've seen a lot of traction is a bit personalization around generic preferences of customers, right? Offering the ability to upsell to customers around room types, types of F&B products. I think that's a complete no-brainer. Leveraging marketing tools to offer a different upsell capability. As long as you contain that AI within that platform, just recommending certain products, I think it's a no-brainer, and we're using that today across the group, and we've seen some significant uplift in uplifting rooms and revenue and auxiliary revenue. The other component I've seen we've built a proof of concept on that's quite interesting is pricing and forecasting integration. Generative AI has the ability to scrape data in near real time around your competitor product characteristics. It's quite interesting. You actually can say, "This is my pricing forecast," for example. But what does my competitors do differently today? And try that, and ChatGPT will spit out some crazy stuff on what your competitors are doing today. And what we're looking at through our partners is how we integrate that type of third-party data into our pricing through our automation tools. So I think that's clear no-brainer. Probably the last no-brainer I would say, in my view, that I'm looking at today is energy management and sustainability. This is energy costs are soaring. It tripled since the pandemic started, and I think using AI to aggregate data in their real time around how your rooms are performing, how you can optimize the rooms, the building, integrating that piece together, you can have a significant return on investment. We've seen technologies decrease power and energy management by 30% with the right tools in place. So I think that's a kind of game changer, and leveraging that to link with your sustainability goals, it is quite significantly. And what's great about this is there's no privacy data breaches. It's just generic data that you're processing and providing you real-time recommendation.
So it sounds like your company is all over this, and
yes, definitely. The board of directors, since last year, have been all over it. They tend to know more about AI than me.
Wow, impressive. Well, we'll look forward to the launch of your check-in GPT app shortly in the next few months. Nikki, Nikki, do you want to weigh in on this topic as sort of a last comment, AI and the modern tech stack?
Yes, absolutely, Daniel. Great question, and a very interesting topic at the moment within the industry and in general within the sphere of technology, really. I feel that whilst we have had predictive AI for a period of time, and a lot of business models have used the predictive AI, it's the generative AI that I feel that will kind of be quite a game changer. In the coming years. I still feel that this AI is still at its nascent stages. Industry is still learning from it, and particularly with our industry, which is so close to a customer experience, how we behave and how we interoperate with this AI responsibly is still something that we're learning, right? We've had chatbots, and a lot of chains are using chatbots now and using AI behind that. We're also seeing a lot of sort of AI being used for personalized experiences, where recommendations are being made, whether you're on an IBE or a different channel related to room preferences or past behavior of the guests. So all of that, together with what Howard just mentioned around dynamic pricing, all of those trends are on the uptick. I believe it's a very exciting space, and I'm equally curious to see how it progresses and how we adopt AI within even our tool set.
Absolutely. Thank you, Nikki. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today. It does sound like, as a quick summary, that the modern tech stack hasn't necessarily lost its way, as our title suggested, but it's in a big transition period, and there are lots of exciting things to come, and ultimately it will make life easier for hoteliers, more and more so, perhaps with a lot of AI involved. A huge thanks to our panelists for sharing your expertise today. Howard Fung of Pro Invest Group. Howard, thank you. Terrence Ronson of PertLink. Thank you.
Thanks, Daniel. Thanks, guys. Really had a lot of fun on the panel. Thank you.
And Nikki Singh of Shiji. Thank you.
Thanks, Daniel. Great session, and thanks, Terrence and Howard, for joining us as well.
And thanks to the Shiji team for making today's free webinar possible. A reminder that all listeners will receive a link to this recording, and you'll find all episodes of the Shiji Buzz in the Knowledge Hub at shijigroup.com. I'm Daniel Craig of Renown on behalf of Shiji. Thanks to all of you for joining us today.